I'm ready.
Shall I all set?
I am.
Okay, welcome to the September 28th meeting of the Infrastructure Committee. Rob McGreevy is en route and will be joining us in the middle of the meeting. For now, we're going to get started at 1:02. Okay, so first item on our agenda is to approve the minutes for the August meeting. I have no comments on the minutes.
I do not either.
Okay,
So I move to approve the minutes for the August meeting.
all right.
We don't need to vote on that, do we?
Yeah,
We do.
well,
I'll take care of it in the minutes. Councilman Panopoulos made a motion to approve the minutes, which was seconded by Chair Councilmember Bush. All members voted in favor.
there we go. So do you have a borough manager update for us at all, or should we move on?
Oh, so I figured I'd cover that at the borough projects portion of the agenda.
Right, down there. Okay, great. So information items for discussion, skate park. So I think the new information, I'm not sure what,
So there, if I may,
yeah,
so there are two new pieces of information, or maybe three pieces of new information from last month. As requested by this committee, I did reach out to Jesse Clayton with Fit Pocket. He seemed a little unclear as to what sort of guidance we needed, and unfortunately that conversation was not as fruitful as I hoped. The second part of new information is also as requested, working with Fran Dixon. I put together a map that's in your packet that shows what the potential locations for the skate park would actually look like. One being at where the tennis court is at Narberth Park, and the other two possible locations being different configurations at Sabine Park. One being in the back where the community garden currently is, one being towards the front where the main parking portion is. And then Councilmember Bush, you might know better than me, but I believe at the Parks and Rec meeting the other night, they also talked about the skate park location again.
well, they wanted to reiterate their resolution, their statement as a board that they believe that the tennis courts should be resurfaced and kept for tennis, and that the skate park, if there is one, should go in Sabine. That is their advice or their recommendation.
Did they, I'm just curious, did they expressly acknowledge the concept that the skate park was a pilot? And what that might mean in terms of, like, in other words, we don't have a budget to resurface the tennis courts now. They know that, right?
They're asking for that to go into.
Oh,
That's a
asking for that
budget
this year.
request that they're
Oh,
putting
all
in
right.
for next year, or they're
All right.
asking for it
Okay.
to be included next year. So
Thanks, all right, that helps to make more
yeah,
sense.
that goes.
That's another discussion.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a later
Thank you.
discussion. So that's their vision for the tennis courts and the potential for the skate park.
Okay.
So I was looking at I walked around Sabine and took a look at the options for, the little grid options. Sort of the back part of the parking lot is, there are a number of cooperative gardens, planting beds that are kind of scattered throughout that area right now. So I don't see how that would coexist with a fenced skate park in any way. And the gardens are going to be using that through December. That's their clear out date for the.
Are they being required to remove the
Last
beds in
harvest.
December?
I don't know.
Set them up again? Boy, that's a lot of work.
I'm not
Do you
sure
know?
what the agreement is.
Yeah, I'll have to find out what this December date is. I'll definitely check up
Well,
on that.
I mean,
what I
that's-
was told is that's final harvest. I don't know if our
Well, that's something really.
cooperative gardens member in the room.
That's the cleanup date, the
Okay.
clean-out date where we want the subscribers to have their stuff removed from the beds by that time.
Right,
Okay.
I don't think we anticipated the beds themselves would But that
I
is,
don't think we made any decisions
No,
about what's
I mean,
going to happen to the beds.
council didn't make it clear whether we were extending permission to use the parking lot year, to keep the beds there year round or just, I mean, I'm not comfortable making that decision myself. I know I would say leave them there, but that's not my decision to make. We should probably bring it to council.
Yeah, I think we weren't really anticipating sort of the beds being all around the back space rather than, I mean, I envisioned it being right up against the park, which would be simpler. Yeah, it's a new thing. We have to figure out what to do. So right now, I would say we can't put something back there. That's just
Right.
not feasible. And then the front of the parking lot, which is another area that you've marked out, is currently used for parking. I mean, that's heavily used by the Wonder Springs and parents. So that's again not. I mean, possibly we could shift some of that back to the back lot, and
I guess then you back into issues with the gardens.
yeah, and then you'd be driving around.
Speaking of Wonder Spring, has anybody talked to them or any of our other tenants about their ideas or feelings about whether if there were a skate park there that were in operation during the day, whether they have any feelings about the noise and the people who would be there the use of that wasn't part of what it was being used for when they signed their leases. I don't know.
No.
I mean,
I don't think so.
I think
No,
that's another
that's a fair
conversation we
point.
have to have,
That's a fair point.
I mean, I think
especially the daycare.
that's an excellent point. And I
Nap
think
time and,
we can't put it there right now. Basically, I don't think it's feasible to put it there. If we changed our arrangement with Cooperative Gardens, then that back space would be a reasonable spot logistically. We still have to make sure that the tenants that didn't cause problems for the tenants.
Right.
But I think, just in terms of can we put it there, will everything else function? The answer is yes, but not now. Right now, there's planter beds all over that space. So really, if we wanted to do it before next spring, say, I don't think those save-line locations are suitable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't
Anything
think so.
to
It's
add?
a
I mean-
location. It also doesn't have a fence.
We'd have to put up
We
a fence,
have
so that's an added expense. I mean,
We
I think,
have a fence and a virtually unplayable tennis court surface that could be resurfaced, but probably isn't going to be resurfaced next year. So, I mean, as I said before, I feel like I kind of feel like it's not really we can extend. I mean, it kind of seems to me its own case, like it's even obvious. So I feel like that's the only place that would be feasible to put it, and that would make sense because we're viewing it as a pilot. And if it works, then a bit of reconsideration about whether we want to undertake the expense of putting a fence in another location to accommodate it as a permanent ongoing use and budget for the tennis courts. That would make sense to have that conversation then, but it also might be the case that it doesn't get used and nobody likes it. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be very popular initially because there's a strong interest now, but
Yeah, I think as long as we're viewing this as a pilot, I think to both of your points, that as in our current configuration of our parks, Sabine probably would not work. And that the logical location for a short-term pilot would be the existing tennis court. And if the program's a success, then yeah, we can incorporate it into our long-term plans for the parks as we consider whether or not to resurface the tennis court, as we consider the long-term configuration for Sabine, and can go from there. But for our purpose today, not overcomplicate the decision, for a pilot project, then yes, the tennis court, if you want to do it, is probably the most logical location.
So what do you see as a process for moving forward to making a decision one way or another so this doesn't keep getting batted around between you and Parks and Rec and us?
So I think my advice would be for the October 20th council meeting would be to have council make a recommendation from this group that we want to do a pilot, maybe determine the length of the pilot before we today, and then council can do a final vote on the location and the, length of time for the pilot. And then we can have, once council approves it, if, I don't want to be presumptuous, but if, and, council approves it on the 20th, then Public Works can, get the process going and get it set up.
Yeah, and I was speaking to Bordeaux about a pilot. One of his strong opinions was that it requires oversight. That someone needs to be not there necessarily all the time, but people need to be checking in and making sure that it's being used safely and that people are, obeying the rules. That otherwise, if it's left completely open, that's an opportunity for. Okay, so we're talking about the skate park pilot. Take it wherever. Yeah, sure. I think your nameplate's over there, so
Sorry,
make it easier on the camera. So I think our current thinking is that the locations in Sabine are not really appropriate for the time being. We can't. The cooperative gardens are using the back space in Sabine, and the front space is currently used for parking. So those would not be usable for any skate park pilot in the short term. And since the tennis courts are fenced and centrally located, I think to Michelle and I, it makes sense to try out the pilot
Okay,
there.
that's fine. I mean, my only regret is that we don't have a plan for tennis,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we'll need to decide in the long term.
Well, I think what I hear Samantha sort of saying is I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm going to say, I think that you're saying or hinting
Yeah.
that as a borough, we really should have a park planning process.
Yeah.
An overall one that sort of, looks at all of our open spaces, whatever they may be at that point in time, and incorporates that with our comprehensive plan and takes input, just have a nice, and you've done that already in Newbury, you did a park plan. So, I mean, that would really benefit all of us, and at that time, we can think about, do we budget to resurface the tennis courts? Do we,
Pickleball.
Has the pilot for skateboard worked out? Do we want to keep it permanently? So that's the right place to put it. Probably not permanently at the tennis courts, but for a place to try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, we have a fence there. It won't be open all the time, right? It'll be locked. It won't be
No,
open
it won't be
whatever
open at
hours we
night.
feel like we can oversee it.
Yeah, but it will require some check-ins, presumably probably by the police department or, I don't know, I think the police department would make sense, but maybe they think Public Works might make more sense, I'm not sure. But somebody should be checking in from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah, plus we'll need someone as well just to kind of get, keep an eye on it to see how much it's getting used.
Right.
Because we don't really track that, and that kind of defeats the point of doing the pilot.
All right, so,
Now, the only caveat I would put on that is, obviously Monday through Friday, the Public Works and admin staff are here, so we have a lot more people around. Whereas on the weekend, we only have our officer on patrol. So I don't know if there's any assistance, anyone from the community can at least, check how much use it's getting during the weekends. That would be a big help to the staff.
Set up a camera.
I don't think that would last long.
Yeah.
The camera get wiped out.
You're right.
All right, well, let's try to flush this out for the October meeting. We'll try to put together bring it to full council in
Right.
October.
But generally, we're going to make a recommendation to move forward at the tennis courts. I mean,
Yeah, that's-
from the committee, and then let council decide, talk about these details. Okay.
Okay, Rob, you,
Yeah, that's
That's
fine.
good.
I just, I know that we can have the vote.
Yeah. and well, we can ask the Parks and Rec board to also attend the meeting and give us their perspective so that they're heard as well directly.
Yeah, and then the only thing I would say is, do we want to talk today about the timing and duration, or is that a conversation you'd rather have with borough council?
I think we should come with something in mind. I don't know if I have a number in my head right now, but. I don't know.
think by this time next year, I think by the time that we're putting together the capital plan for 2023, we should aim to have a decision about the future of the skate park by then, because it might impact some of those decisions.
The only caveat I would put to that, that's certainly an option, is also how long would we want the tennis court to be unavailable for any other use?
I mean, I don't know.
Well, by putting this in, we're shutting down tennis for
Correct.
many months, right?
I mean, as long as the equipment's there, it's not going to be usable for tennis.
And it would go in what, Thanksgiving or something, potentially? So I mean, there's not many people playing tennis in winter. So we could run it through early spring or something.
Yeah, what is the, I mean, I'm assuming, but maybe I'm wrong, that the use by skateboards is going to further deteriorate the
Oh, that's a
surface.
good point.
I wonder, I mean, it's already, many people, I mean, I've heard it described as unplayable, but I think that's, by the serious tennis players. I mean, for
Right.
kids learning, they
They're
can bat the ball
kids
around.
learning there.
Somebody teaches lessons there.
I wonder if it's going to get to the point that it won't even be playable, I don't know.
Yeah, because actually, I kind of see now actually how this is going to play out. When the pilot ends, we're going to be back at the conversation of what are we doing long-term for tennis courts.
Right.
And I think you're right. If we don't have the answer to that question, it's going to feel dumb to end the skate pilot
Right.
if we don't know what we're doing with the tennis court.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think if we decide to move forward and budget to resurface it, then, the equipment gets out when we resurface it. Right?
Mhm.
And I do think the good news on park planning is talking with Parks and Rec in the past, it does sound like they've made some progress on that. So I can check and see where that's at and try to get that, to a place where council can work on that in 2022.
All right. Moving on to outdoor dining. So you had some questions for us before we have some parameters for us to give you before we.
Yeah, I just need a little guidance to finish up the resolution that, oh, actually, I'm sorry, I want to say on the skate park.
Okay.
Also included in your packet was a logo for Skate and Art from Harry Quake.
I saw that.
And I wanted to see if we were comfortable with making any use of that, or if we have any suggested changes for Harry. It's been really great to talk with Harry. He, just for the public's benefit as well as everyone here, is a 10-year-old resident borough who is an avid skater and has, is a very active participant in the community. It's really great to see someone that young. Like after every one of our infrastructure meetings, he kind of asked me where we're at the skate park and stuff like that. And it's really cool to see someone that young involved in their local government. And so he sent me this Skate and Art logo for consideration to use on any marketing materials for the skate park or anything like that.
Behind it once. That's great.
It's now, outdoor dining.
Outdoor dining.
It's something to go behind it once. That's great.
It's now, outdoor dining.
Outdoor dining. Yeah, so let me go through the, I don't know if you want, all right, I can read your note here. 4 items to get consensus on. So will this be for any restaurant or only locations with a liquor license that will be entitled to 2 on-street parking spaces? Let's just go one by one. So my opinion is that any restaurant that requests it should be,
Fine.
should have access to spaces in the street.
I agree.
Doesn't have to do with a liquor license.
No. Dan doesn't have a liquor.
Yep.
Dan? Go ahead.
I don't know.
No, this would be YOP. Yeah, the pub places, Thai place, none of them have liquor licenses.
Say it's any place with sit-down dining. Or do we want to include places potentially like,
Pizza place.
right, like
Chinese.
Real Nard Pizza, yeah, the Chinese place, Johnny Mac's, the ice cream place.
Ice cream place does have some sit down.
So I like where this is going, we're going to shut down Haverford Avenue soon.
Yeah, I think they can
Always
all
been my
last.
dream. For all
I
the
think-
cars
I
and
know we talked about that, yeah.
Plaza, no. Yeah, that could get to be a lot, so I think, I mean, it could be that we reserve a certain number of spots and it's kind of like a lottery maybe. I don't know, because it might be, potentially it could be a lot of parking spots is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Would that make
Let's
sense?
see how many requests we get. I mean, they haven't asked, it hasn't been a problem so far.
I'm just saying potentially, I mean, if you set it up that way, then they have to give the spots out. So if you anticipate the problem, it seems to make more sense to say, this is the number of spots that we can, where they are, that we can conceive making available, we'll issue them by lottery.
Let's say that any place that currently has sit down any place that currently has sit down will get 2 spots if they ask for it. Other places can ask council. And we can see how many requests we get. I mean, sit down restaurants need sit down spaces. The other restaurants seem to be doing fine without them, right? So if they want them, if we have capacity, we'll give it to them. And if it turns out we have a lot of demand, then we'll reconsider.
So is Village Streets a sit-down restaurant?
Well, they have
They have
tables inside.
So any place that has tables inside.
Inside, but I think Real Pizza has some tables inside.
Right,
Do that?
They do too.
All right, well, so it's really only Chinese place.
They have a table inside where people wait to pick up orders. It's not hard to put a table inside. Anyway, so I don't know, we don't have, I don't hate to be a pain like a lawyer, but we don't have a definition of what that means, and so.
Yeah, fair enough.
And how many, and if we should probably sit down and count how many restaurants this is times 2 and think what's the maximum number of requests we can have, could we accommodate that? If not, we might want to give this some more thought. Do you have a recommendation?
Yeah.
Manager?
My recommendation is, I would say any place, how about this? Originally I was gonna say just any place with a liquor license, but maybe I would say any place that has a liquor license or is BYOB. And then all others can be considered on a case-by-case basis by Borough Council.
Is BYOB separate, that you have to apply for that somehow? I mean, I just thought that was, okay.
Yeah,
All right, that sounds good, because I mean, I'm sure that, I mean, the Thai place definitely is, and I think the pho
Yeah.
places are as well, are BYOB, so, and they're the ones with all this sit down.
and yeah, actually just not to derail the conversation here, but to the point that Councilmember Pananopoulos raised, living in Doylestown Borough, they routinely did pedestrian zones in their downtown area, and that could be something really cool to try in Narberth sometime.
I think that would be great.
Just want to get that out on the public record.
Yeah, I think a lot of council members have, besides Michelle, have also expressed interest in that, so
Well,
I
I think it's
think it's a great idea.
we need a lot of traffic planning, and I understand it would be controversial, but it has the potential to make Narberth's downtown offer something that no other place does, which could be beneficial to the town.
It's also relatively easy to try for a couple days, see how it works, on a short-term basis, see how it works out. More pilots. All right, so I think we've got a plan for this. What is the minimum width of sidewalk clearance we want to maintain? PennDOT ADA requirements are 60 inches or 48 inches with a 60-inch section every 200 feet. I mean, I'm sure we're not meeting, even with before the pandemic, I'm sure we weren't meeting the 60 inches. There's, there's planters with trees in the middle of the street. There's, small meters and things. There's all kinds of like random obstructions.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna look at while we're talking about this, I'm gonna get on Google Street View.
But I mean, I guess we can come up with
So, just, how are we going to determine who is a BYOB?
So that's like an official status you have to have.
no?
Oh, is it not? I need to reread the state liquor law.
I don't know, maybe it's been modified, I didn't think it was, I've never seen it be like, it says there's nothing in the Pennsylvania Liquor Code or police LCD regulations that prohibits individuals from bringing their alcohol to an establishment, whether the establishment possesses a license or not. So I'm not sure that there is, anyway, whatever. I
All
just
right,
want to give
let's
this some
just say
more thoughts.
10 or more seats inside. 10 or more seats inside. How's that? I mean, that's a bunch. That's a concrete number. I mean,
A number of seats, that's a reasonable metric, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's an issue because we're not being flooded with applicants.
and they all could have done this before too, and didn't. Right, so, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
so
Michelle's
10
right, we
seats, 10
should be
seats.
ready for it. 10 seats?
Yeah.
Also, it is a resolution, so we could, change it
How
whenever
hard
we
to
need to.
change, okay.
Okay, so going back to sidewalk distance. I mean, I don't know what the legal ramifications are here. I'm not an EDA expert.
And ultimately, the Haverford and Narberth, which would be the roads impacted by this, are borough roads. They're not PennDOT roads. So, I mean, we do have some latitude, do we want. I just remember at the meeting last month that folks had concerns about wheelchairs, strollers, all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
But, yeah, to the point raised, looking at Haverford Ave on Google Street View and really focusing in on this, yeah, I mean, we do have parking meters, planters, benches, outside dining, unevenness on the sidewalk. So it may not be worth our time to designate a certain minimum width in the sidewalk.
well, but we need to specify the,
Or you at least have to keep it
there should be,
open.
there has to be a clear path for people and people with strollers or wheelchairs or whatnot to
Yeah.
get through. So I don't know what's the best way to phrase that. I mean,
Maybe just like what you said, and then it's on borough, code enforcement to enforce that. A clear path must be maintained for,
well, maybe we can say that the outdoor seating should not narrow it to more than 1 hour. That the outdoor seating that they're adding should not narrow it. That if there's other stuff already narrowing it, they're not going to take out planters, or the trees, whatever, parking meters. But if they're putting in new stuff, they have to leave a certain distance with the new stuff they're adding.
let's look, we have a solicitor for as well. I mean, we could just, tell him, hey, when we write the resolution, we want to maintain a clear path. We don't want the whole sidewalk blocked up by tables and outdoor dining.
But
It should
we
be
have to recognize
a compliant path.
there's already obstructions.
Yeah, recognize there's already obstructions. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
No, it just needs to be,
ADA
an
compliant.
ADA compliant path has to be
Yeah.
maintained, whatever
It really should be.
that requires. If John can give us some guidance on how to draft it.
Well, we'll leave it up to John, but okay. I mean, I would like it if we cleared some of that stuff, whatever it's possible for us to
Take out the gas meters. Electrify.
Yeah.
that's right, abolish natural gas
Yeah, I mean, I think
downtown
we
area
need to be
in the interest of
conscious-
ADA compliance.
That when we give parking spots on the street, that they're not blocking any ramps that are
Yeah.
cut curbs, that are cut to the curbs or anything. Also, I don't know if there are any block, I guess they're all in corners, aren't they? I'm not sure, actually. There might be
There's
some
a couple
block-
mid-block crosswalks, but no one's gonna put it in a crosswalk.
Well, there wouldn't be a parking spot there, right? So,
True.
okay. Anyway, just as long as the whole thing doesn't block somebody from a wheelchair from getting around downtown, because that's.
And then we can also think long-term, how do we, when thinking about the streetscapes of the borough, think about how do we have sidewalks that are clear for ADA access.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think dealing with broken segments of sidewalk ought to be a priority. That's something we definitely can.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah, but I wanted to ask you about that because isn't that something that, I'm not sure where that is. I've had a conversation with Samantha that,
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
inspecting
probably it
sidewalks,
should be.
is that on your radar? Or?
Personally, I mean, yes, as a committee, it can go either way. I don't have a strong opinion. So if you want to keep it in
We haven't done
Public health
anything
and
yet.
safety.
Yeah, I don't know where it fits, but
Yeah, it's up to you two. It could go with either committee. I'm ready to go. I talked to Kevin about it. We're ready. I just need a committee. I just need a committee and council to bless it. So
well, we could. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'd say
it's
it's sidewalks. It's probably infrastructure.
yeah, both of you are here. So.
yeah.
All right, so let's have that conversation in here.
All right, I'll put we'll have that on the agenda for next month then.
Alrighty.
I'll get everything.
Sounds
prepared.
good. Okay, next up, we have to be out of the room by 2, so we'll move a
alright.
little quicker apparently. Next item, we want some sort of decorative barricade in place of our existing one. So this probably wouldn't have to go in the resolution. Right?
No, sorry, this is just kind of this is more of a thinking out loud sort of question from
Put
last.
custom art on a rectangular barricade, such as the borough seal or logo.
What kind of rectangular?
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll throw it up on the TV
Yeah, that's
screen
great.
here.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
I wasn't able to get it into the.
These barricades were kind of chosen previously with the, at least the stated reason that they were required for safety reasons. That's how it was kind of phrased. But, you know, I would say the minimum barricade that you, a more attractive barricade would be very nice.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing their job, and they were available quickly, but something prettier would is appealing. I agree.
Yeah, so you can get.
Yeah, I think if there was something else that you're comfortable with that you think we could
So here's, I'll get this over up on the
acquire
square
that
here.
too, but wouldn't be cost prohibitive. So maybe we should go for it.
So we might have to move to see the TV screen here. So
Oh.
basically it's like a steel barricade and then you can put like a cover over it with whatever design you want on it. So we can almost like, I don't know, I'm all about branding, so almost like, you know, one that has like the borough logo on it or something like that, or
Art contest.
What?
A new art contest.
That's right, yeah.
uh,
You could sell advertising space.
So maybe what we can do is, once the resolution has been approved, we can use the barricades we have for now, and then we can return to
Yeah.
figuring out a decorative barricade.
I think it's a
Sounds
good
good.
idea, though.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last item is snow plowing,
Yeah.
which is, so Public Works is saying that, you know, they can't plow unless things are moved out of their way, basically, right?
So I guess the good news on that, I spoke more with our Public Works foreman about it. He told me that last year, the volume of snow that we got was okay to not have to worry about moving them. His concern is if we got a larger snow, how would we handle that? So it could be, I mean, the way the weather's been going around here, now I've jinxed us for the year, but, you know, it may not be something we ever have to worry about,
No, we-
but I can't, yeah, it's a dangerous game to play.
Where are the snow emergency routes downtown? I don't even know, I should know. but
I
I
need to
don't.
fix that.
Well, it kind of depends. According to the borough's ordinance, they are on Haverford and Narberth.
Okay.
They're elsewhere in the borough as well. We have signs elsewhere in the borough indicating snow emergency routes, but our ordinance does not declare them as such. So PHS has been discussing, you know, making the ordinance and the signs match each other appropriately.
If on Haverford, was it what, it's just one side of the street? Was it south?
I think it's both.
Oh, really? Okay.
Let me check. I mean, we could, yeah, treat it like we treat any other snow emergency where people have to move their cars and move basketball hoops and anything and everything else in the street. But I don't know how mobile the Greeks situation is, for example.
Doesn't look very mobile.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, tents are generally mobile, but that's a new tent.
Yeah, like McShay's, I wouldn't be too worried about their thing.
Hmm.
Well,
I don't know about this one, I don't know.
yeah, I don't know either. I don't know.
Actually, Home Borough. So actually, Haverford is not currently per the ordinance a snow emergency route.
Oh, okay.
I have a strong suspicion that will probably change in discussion with PHS and council.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, if Windsor is, why wouldn't that be good enough?
I'm not sure,
As you can tell, I've never really
Yeah,
had this
I
at a
know.
moment's thought.
I don't know whether the logic is we need to get it out of the way so we can plow the entire street, or we need to have access for the emergency vehicles, so
Is
certain.
there anything in our
strategic-
emergency management plan that addresses these routes?
Yeah, I can look at
Maybe
that.
we should look at that.
So what was that?
The emergency management
Yeah.
plan.
Oh,
Let's see
yeah,
what
that's
they
right.
have.
I mean, we,
Maybe they looked at this discrepancy and have resolved it in yet a third way. That's more recent, so it might be the way to go.
yeah, no, our committee got a complaint about Williams Ave, so we were looking to see that one street where the signs are there, but it's not in the ordinance.
Well, I think this is something for public health and safety. We're probably trying to reconcile these competing standards and sort of harmonize it, make it work. Maybe
Yeah,
the emergency management one already did it though. I
right.
don't know.
Yeah, we can look at it.
Hopeful.
So for outdoor dining, do we want to just stay silent on that for now, or?
Yeah, I mean, maybe encourage people not to put permanent structures out there, I mean, because, I don't know.
Well, somebody would need, I mean, you'd need permission, right? The Greeks had to get permission to put their permanent structure there. We don't have a.
Did that?
Well, actually, I don't know.
Well,
But,
I mean,
let me
I
backtrack on that. I mean, everyone had to file an application, but I can't remember off the top of my head if that application included like, what's your thing gonna be?
I seem to recall something like that, vaguely, that there was some process by which they put that in front of Kevin or someone blessed it, it would be okay, but I don't remember very well. Cindy would know. I think she's with the ship.
Well, I mean, maybe we should have in there that they need to be removed at the borough's request. And just leave it
Sure.
open, and we
Yeah.
can do it whenever we need it.
That's true. Good point. Yeah, and whether it's snow or flooding or
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, just, tell them we don't expect to need this, but it's possible that it's going to. And now that'll inspire, that'll be enough to get tempered. Okay, sound good, everybody?
Yes.
Samantha, is that what you need from us?
Yeah, that's great, thank you.
All right. Potential action items at the next business meeting of the bridge art.
So the bridge art, Michelle Carroll did speak with Todd Bressy about where that's at. She got up to speed on it. She's largely taken that project over from Todd. She contacted the, I don't know what you want to call them, the people that we selected to present. They are all scheduled to present to this committee at your meeting next month.
Present here, okay. So are they in person or digitally or?
I don't know if they'll be doing it in person. I think they're going to try to be in person.
Now, can I ask a wild question? Do we really, as a committee, need to pre-screen these? Is it?
I mean, if Samantha's already set the meeting, I think we can proceed, but, I mean,
No, it's fine.
Maybe at staff level, we can pre-screen them. or-
My point being that I don't want to make people come back twice for no reason.
Mhm.
That's all I'm thinking. I can already tell you what my opinion will be is, they're all great, I don't care, but that's because that's me. I don't feel qualified. In other words, I don't know that this committee has any special
Our
insight
expertise.
into, so I don't know, I mean, I'm just trying to save everybody time, I don't want them to
That's true.
compare,
I mean,
or
we're
be like,
still-
oh, that's nice, can you come back next week?
Yeah, we're
Right.
still a month away from the next meeting, so if we had to tell people, hey, we actually rather have you just come to council the next week.
Yeah, we could do that, or our committee will be recorded and
That's
the rest of
possible too.
council could watch it. I mean, we wouldn't have to be the ones to do the
Sure.
final decision.
Might be better for them to see it in person, to see
Mhm.
the actual.
And the public might be interested.
That's my inclination, is to set it for a workshop meeting when it can get the time and attention that it needs from the public and maybe the council. But if you want to have them come twice, that's fine with me, I'm not trying to shoot that down, I just,
Yeah, it's just we're paying. some
Yeah, you know,
yeah, I don't want to inconvenience the people who have already sort of been dragged along for a couple of years and don't.
Mhm.
yeah, that might be better if they only come to one meeting. I mean, were you envisioning that they would come here and not come to the bigger meeting, or not come to the full council?
Yeah, my original, yeah, now we're talking about it, and I think it makes more sense for council, I'm like, my original vision, not thinking it all the way through, was that they would come here, this committee would make a recommendation to council, but thinking more on the nature of this project, it'd probably be better for council to see it directly and for the public to be more directly involved in it.
And I can tell you that despite this being a relatively minor issue, in the grand scheme of things, council has spent much time on discussing in the past. So I'm certain there are other council members who will want to.
Members of
Weigh in on the
public will have an
presentation.
opinion about it too.
Yeah.
If they know that that's going to be discussed, they'll want to.
So we should give it a bigger venue, sure.
Yeah, we'll reschedule it for the November work
I'm sorry,
session.
I was thinking.
No, it's a good-
No, that's,
Yeah, it
no,
makes sense.
that's a really good idea.
It's a good point.
Fine.
The artist must suffer inevitably for their work. Okay. Borough projects.
Sure, so with the Haverford project, as I mentioned in the manager report for council earlier this month, due to supply issues obtaining the piping required, our contractor requested a 6-month extension on the project. In discussion with the borough engineer, that extension was granted because we didn't think anyone else was going to be able to get pipe any sooner, unfortunately. So next spring, we will have that going on. Council's last meeting, they talked about the Haverford bike pilot. So myself and the traffic engineer and Kim Bezak are meeting next week on site, so out in the street here, to take a look at how we would design that and make that work. And we'll then have that back for this committee and council for final approval, and then we'll do it once everyone's good with it. LED streetlights, those started getting installed on Friday. Hey, Brian.
I'll come back.
You're welcome to hang out if you want. You can take a seat here, whatever you want. So on Friday, we started the LED streetlight installation.
We got ours on Marion.
Did we? Oh,
Yeah,
what? Oh,
at least 2 I saw.
I haven't
Yeah,
been out.
they started on the south side of Narber, and will be, in the next week or so, they'll hit all the residential overheads. And then they're gonna move on later in October to do the retrofit of the decorative style lights. So that's moving along.
That's exciting.
Let's see here.
I want to thank everybody out there for their forbearance,
Yeah.
putting up with the lengthy delays that COVID caused this project. The streetlights have been out everywhere. And,
Yes.
Yeah, I think we got up to like 65 or something like that. Yeah. Just obtaining supplies for any
It's gonna be-
construction project has turned into a nightmare.
It was a big relief, but also get prepared for much brighter streets. I think this is going to be very surprising.
Yeah.
Experience.
The electric vehicle chargers, we have ribbon cutting, those are up and running. Unfortunately, one of them has been vandalized already, but, to give our public works foreman credit, who's in the crowd here, he is working with Flow to get that fixed for us. And then I'm also working on getting the pricing fixed per what this committee have requested that we do. Those are the infrastructure projects that come to the top of my mind. If there's any specific infrastructure questions, I'm happy to take them.
I don't think we have any. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anything else before we move to public comment? Okay, let's go to public comment. Let's see if anybody in the room has public comment. I doubt it. Okay, moving on to Zoom.
Dave, do you have any public comment? Are you good?
Sure, I'll jump in. I guess first, I just want to thank, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, no, I just want to thank you all for your support with moving the the pilot program for the skate park along. I appreciate that. There are a lot of people who've been very interested in that, so I appreciate the committee's work.
David, I want to just thank you for, all the advice and information that you've been able to provide all of us.
Yeah, well, you can give all the credit to Harry Quaid. if it wasn't for him, I don't think he's one terrific kid.
Yeah.
A
resolution to name the skate park.
Yes. The one question I did have though, in moving forward and thinking and just looking at things through the past couple of years and some of the changes throughout the borough, when I look at the comprehensive plan and in one of the recommendations, it talks about efficient and safe circulation throughout the borough. And I looked at the parking study that the task force worked on. And, one of the things I looked at and I read here said that the state standard for minimum roadway width to permit two-way traffic and parking on both sides is 32 feet. Many Narberth roadways do not meet the standard, therefore vehicle traffic often must resort to yielding. So recommendation here is they talk a little bit about this, and I guess with I guess it would just come to the flow through of traffic in the borough. And then, something I had looked at when the Elmwood project was going on, and I looked at page 8 of this report, and it says, developers in many municipalities are often required to submit traffic impact studies to estimate additional vehicle volumes that the proposal will add to local roadways and account for any local infrastructure improvements. And, so I go back and I just looked at one of the things, for example, when the Elmwood project was going on and when they did a little bit of the traffic study. And, if you look at the developments coming into the borough, you have, it says here, I'm looking at this report, 114 Forest, 100 Forest, 203 Haverford, 650 Montgomery. And then there's 146 Marion, 230 Haverford, 198 Elmwood, 32 Sabine. And, none of these are, with the exception of the Elmwood one, which is pretty modest, none of these required or were asking for traffic studies. And so I think that, just in moving forward, I would just ask that before we start loosening up, if we do start loosening up standards for additional units within the borough, we start looking at some of these traffic studies, or we start doing some work in that area. Because you're looking at, right now it seems like what's within the pipeline, you're looking at adding over 100 cars to the road, potentially, if we base it upon 1 to 1.5 cars per livable unit.
Thanks for your comment, David. Samantha?
I think,
Yeah, if I can just real quick address that. Yeah, I think that's a really great point there, Dave. The borough staff are working with the planning commission on updating the borough's subdivision and land development ordinance. And I think, one of the things that is going to be in that update is exactly what you suggested, which would require new land development projects to include a traffic study.
Yeah, and one of the things, it's interesting you bring that up, Ms. Bryant, because one of the things I thought I heard in the last planning commission meeting, I could be wrong, was when they're talking about with ADUs and adding those, allowing those to be added in the borough. I believe they were saying they weren't going to have parking requirements for ADUs. So maybe that's something we could, maybe it's time maybe to just give a little bit of pause, because in a very short period of time, we've added a lot of development in the borough, and I'm certainly not anti-development by any stretch, but I think that there's a, how quick and how fast.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, the ADU proposal hasn't, it's not in a state for council to discuss yet. The planning commission is still working on that. So they would be the right people to talk to at the moment if you have a concern about that ADUs. It's within their committee right now.
Yes, I understand. I just said that's what they were discussing. The last one is, I believe, if I heard correctly, is not having parking requirements for those as part of their recommendation. Maybe they're going to go back and rediscuss it, but I think that's the last I heard.
All right.
Anyway, yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. Is there anybody else waiting for public comment? No? All right. I declare the meeting adjourned. Since I have the gavel. Thanks, everybody.
10 minutes.
Yeah.